Good morning and welcome to the excretory system. Previous class we have seen the different kinds of waste produced in our body, how the wastes are removed from our body, and also we have seen the whole human excretory system, which was comprising of kidneys, ureters, urinary bladder, urethra, etc. And also the internal structure of a kidney, which was comprising of two parts, that is the cortex and the medulla. Even we have seen a structure of a nephron in detail, where we saw the parts called as the Bowman capsule, proximal convoluted tubule or PCT, loop of Fresnel, DCT and collecting duct. And the next topic was the blood vessels which were supplying the blood to the kidney. Even we have done the functions of kidney. Right now we are also doing we have already carried out the functions of kidney, like the regulation of fluid balance, regulation of acid base balance, and also the arterial blood pressure. But at present we will begin with the new topic called as the mechanism of urine formation. So the functions of the kidney, among which production of urine is the most important one, they are having several major steps. So please go through page number 117 in your textbook and I'll be going in detail about it. So the mechanism of urine formation mainly involves three steps, in which ultrafiltration is the step number 1, second is your tubular reabsorption, and third is tubular secretion. These three steps takes place in different parts of the nephron. Ultrafiltration. The first step in urine formation is the filtration of blood by the glomerulus. Therefore, it is called as glomerular filtration or ultrafiltration. Each glomerulus receives the blood from an afferent arteriole and drains it through the efferent arteriole. The diameter of afferent arteriole is more than that of the efferent arteriole. As a result, these glomerular capillaries have high blood pressure. That is, the blood flows through the glomerulus under a great pressure. So, this high pressure is called as hydrostatic pressure, which causes water, salts, glucose and small organic compounds or molecules present in the blood plasma to filter out from the glomerular capillaries into the renal tubule. The filtrate is now known as the glomerular filtrate. It has more or less the same chemical composition as that of the blood plasma. This filtrate contains urea, mineral salts, glucose and water. And large molecules of such are proteins and blood corpuscles. And they cannot enter the glomerular filtrate. The remaining part of the blood which is left in the glomerular capillaries is relatively thicker as it has less amount of fluid, but large quantities of blood cells are protein molecules. Now the blood now passes through the glomerulus, that is through the efferent arteriole. So as a whole process of filtration takes place under the pressure and results in the filtration of only the small sized molecules. It is called as ultrafiltration. Tubular reabsorption. This is the second step in urine formation. The glomerular filtrate is an extremely dilute solution. It contains important solutes such as glucose, amino acids, vitamins and inorganic salts like the sodium chloride and sodium bicarbonate. So as the glomerular filtrate passes into the collecting duct through the renal tubule, about 80% of water along with these useful solutes is reabsorbed into the blood capillaries present around the renal tubules. Now this reabsorption takes place to such an extent that the normal concentration of the blood is not disturbed and its fluidity is not affected. So the remaining waste substance left in the renal tubule passes into the renal pelvis and that is to be excreted. So tubular reabsorption is also called as selective process, or the tubular reabsorption takes place by two mechanisms again. Active reabsorption. A few substances such as glucose and amino acids are relatively reabsorbed in the blood. It means that the reabsorption of these solutes takes place against the concentration gradient. That is from the lower concentration in the filtrate to higher concentration in the blood with the utilization of energy. So as a result, the useful solutes are almost totally reabsorbed from the filtrate, and other substances are reabsorbed actively from the filtrate are vitamin C, sodium, potassium and calcium ions. Passive reabsorption or diffusion. Some solutes are reabsorbed from the renal tubules by simple diffusion, and because of their higher concentration in the glomerular filtrate as compared to the blood. So these substances such as urea, ammonia, creatinine and ketone bodies are never reabsorbed completely and are excreted along with the urine. Much of the water present in the filtrate is also reabsorbed by the passive transport without utilization of energy. So it is called as passive reabsorption or diffusion. Tubular secretion. It is the third step in urine formation during which certain substances are passed into the tubular filtrate from the blood capillaries. While tubular reabsorption involves removal of substance from the filtrate into the peritubular capillaries, tubular secretion involves certain secretion of substances from the peritubular capillaries into the filtrate. So substances which are passed out by the tubular secretions are potassium ions, creatinine and certain drugs. So what are the steps in urine formation? See, in glomerulus, function is ultrafiltration. In Bowman's capsule, it receives the glomerular filtrate. In PCT, reabsorption, that is 80% of it reabsorbs 80% of water, glucose, amino acids, sodium ions and chloride ions. Whereas in lupofenol, it absorbs water, sodium, potassium and calcium ions. In DCT, it reabsorbs water, glucose and sodium salts, secretes potassium, creatinine and certain drugs. Now excretion of urine. The filtrate which is left after tubular reabsorption and tubular secretion is known as urine. Once the urine is formed in the kidney, it is passed to the ureter and then propelled to the urinary bladder by peristaltic contractions. The urinary bladder can accommodate up to 300 to 400 milliliter of urine and store it temporarily. When it gets completely filled, the sphincter muscle present at the opening of the urinary bladder relaxes and the urine is passed to the urethra, which expels out from the body. So the process of expulsion of urine through the urethra is called as micturition. Micturition can be voluntarily prevented for some time but not for a longer time. Properties and composition of urine. Human beings excrete about 1 to 1.5 liters of urine in a day, and urine has the following physical properties, such as urine is yellow in color due to the presence of a pigment called urochrome. pH of urine ranges from 5 to 8 and it's usually acidic in nature with pH 6, but sometimes it may show a little alkalinity. It is more concentrated than the blood plasma and is thus hypertonic in nature. When allowed to stand, it smells strongly of ammonia due to bacterial degradation of urea into ammonia. Specific gravity of urine ranges from 1.003 to 1.035. And the volume of urine is 1 to 1.5 liters, but it depends upon the fluid intake and level of physical activity and the atmospheric temperature. The excessive intake of water increases the volume of urine, whereas less water intake, profuse sweating and heavy work or exercise reduces the volume of urine. Normal constituents of urine. Chemically, urine is composed of water, organic substances and inorganic substances. Water constitutes about 95% of the urine and the other substances from 5% of the urine form the urine. Now, the organic substance mainly include urea, uric acid, creatinine, ammonia and hippuric acid. The inorganic substance include salts such as chlorides, sulfates and phosphates of potassium, calcium and magnesium. Besides this, urine may also contain gases like carbon dioxide dissolved in dissolved form, white blood cells and some epithelial cells. The normal constituent of urine are urine, that is 2.3%, creatinine is 1.5%, uric acid is 0.7%, others are 2.6%, sodium chloride is 9%, potassium chloride is 2.5%, sulfuric acid is 1.8 and ammonia is 0.6. This is all about the normal constituent of urine. Abnormal constituents of urine. During diseased condition, the urine may contain some abnormal constituents indicating certain disorder in the body. So some of these constituents are as follows. Like glucose, the presence of excess glucose in urea is called as glycosuria, and this indicates that person is suffering from diabetes mellitus. Blood, if the urine contains blood, it signifies kidney stones, tumor or some infection in the urinary tract. The presence of blood in the urine is called hematuria. Albumin. Sometimes a urine contains albumin because of high blood pressure or due to bacterial infections. Bile pigments. The presence of bile pigments in urine indicates anemia, jaundice or liver cirrhosis. Kidney stones. Excessive amount of uric acid along with the certain salts like calcium oxalate may form crystals which may appear in urine. Sometimes these crystals solidify into kidney stones in any part of the excretory system, causing severe pain. And excessive intake of salts, defective metabolism of uric acid or too little intake of water are the main causes of kidney stones. Excess water. Sometimes the urine is highly dilute because of excess intake of water, high blood pressure or diabetes. Also, the person excretes large amount of urine as compared to the normal condition. So in this cause, it can cause dehydration in the body. Regulation of urine formation. Urine formation is under the regulation of nervous system and endocrine system. Nervous regulation. The kidneys are supplied with a large number of nerve fibers arising from the brain, and this regulates the width of afferent and efferent arteriole, permeability of the walls to the glomerulus, rate of filtration or tubular reabsorption. Endocrine or hormonal regulation. The amount of urine output is also under the regulation of a hormone called ADH or antidiuretic hormone. It is secreted by the posterior lobe of pituitary gland and it increases the permeability of the collecting tubules. If ADH secretion is reduced, the collecting tubules reabsorb less amount of water and the volume of urine increases. The condition is known as diabetes insipidus. In short, ADH or antidiuretic hormone allows the kidney to conserve water. Artificial kidney. If one kidney of an individual is damaged, the other kidney is sufficient to perform the function of both the kidneys. However, if both the kidneys of a person are damaged, failed, the nitrogenous waste products start accumulating in the blood and a condition arises called uremia, which may lead to death. In such patients, the removal of nitrogenous waste from the blood is done by a dialysis machine, which is also called as artificial kidney or hemodialyzer. In dialysis, the blood of the patient is pumped through a cellophane tubing. It is surrounded by a dialysis fluid which is similar in composition to the normal blood plasma. The cellophane tubing is permeable to most of the constituents of blood plasma, but it is impermeable to plasma protein. As the blood flows through the cellophane tubing, the constituent of blood plasma which are in higher concentration moves into the dialysis fluid. Thus, the blood returning to the patient's circulatory system is cleaned of the waste substances. The frequency of dialysis depends upon the patient's condition and need. It's repeated as often necessary so as to maintain the normal composition of the blood plasma. By this we come to an end of this lesson and hope all would have understood or able to understand again if you go through it. So next class I'll give you some questions based on this lesson, and so go through the textbook once again. Thank you and have a nice day.